So we're live. I'm here with Aidan. Aidan, how you doing?
What's up, dude? I'm well. And
Very
yourself?
nice to talk to another Lindsay.
Linsley.
How do you say it?
Lisney.
How did I say it?
Lindsay. You do what
Lindsay.
everybody does.
Lindsay. Oh, I said Lindsay. That's the first time I made that
switch the
faux
N and the
pas.
S.
Lisney.
It happens to everybody. They're like, oh, that's so confusing. It's like, it is, I guess, because it's like pretty much something that everybody sees all the time, and then it's just a little bit different. So it's like the uncanny valley. There's something so close, yet the gap is really far away and trips everybody up.
Historically, what the heck? I'm looking at the name Lisney. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? The Lisney family name. Do you know?
No idea. All I know is that it's French in origin and that you see it mostly in England, Ireland, and Australia.
Having a hard time finding. I should research it and then I'll let you know.
David, what's your last name?
Ross. It means outcropping or promontory or something like that. It's a geographical feature of land in Scotland that was reaching out into the water. And that's where the Ross County is in Ireland. It's got that geographical feature.
Okay, so is it Gaelic? Is it technically Gaelic then?
Good question. I wonder. It must be. Ross, does that sound Gaelic? Yeah, a quick search reveals that there's not a lot of information on the history and origin of the name Lisney, but I'm sure I'll look into it and I'll find out because it's always interesting. But mine is tied to.
Do point to ourselves.
Mine is pointed to the sort of geological features of the area where we're from in Scotland. Yours might be the same. You think it might be French?
I was always told it was French, so I just trust that. Don't ask questions. You know, that's the way to be around here. Just look down.
I love the Lisneys more than the Lindsays.
More than well, our bill collectors call us Lindsay. So
I'm gonna try to interview.
We do like Lindsay.
I'm gonna try to find Aidan and Kieran Lindsay and interview them 100 times.
Yeah, you should. I was going to say, you guys were, I forget who you're talking about and how far reaching his podcast is. And I was just like, and then David's like bottom of the barrel because he's interviewing Kieran and I week after week.
My wife just said, are you going to bloat your channel now with a bunch of loser interviews? Now, she doesn't want me to interview anyone since I interviewed Pastor Artur Pawlowski.
Why, because he's famous or something?
He's famous and he's like a rebel, anti-COVID rebel, went to jail and all that, fighting the system and fighting the tyranny in Canada. She's like, don't interview a bunch of losers. You gotta promote that one interview you did of this guy. She didn't know it was you that I'm interviewing, but she just like.
Well, it's not untrue. You should just be going for more. Who's the bizarre fake pope that you got? Pope Michael. Like that's
Did you listen to that
stuff right there? No, because it's just so like, it's just such a bizarre level of
Twilight Zone?
Of like self-deceit that I just like, I can't stomach it. Like we all have family members that we deal with that are like really awkward and that you're just like, I can't even talk to you because it's just so painful. And I felt like we're getting into that territory. And if I can like knowingly spare myself of that type of cringeworthy conversation, I don't want to do it. Is he a sade? Or is he something completely different than a sedevacantist?
He's what they call conclavist.
Okay. No idea what that is.
Yeah, it's where this is too bright. It's where the
Is it? I thought it looked kind of good.
I prefer. You like it? It's gonna blind me.
Is it? Good.
It's okay. I'll leave it on. Baby. I'll leave it on for the video because my video camera doesn't take the light too well, obviously. What's your mug by? What does it say on your mug?
It doesn't. It's okay. Snoopy and Woodstock because they make everything better.
But I actually, believe it or not, I have a lot more respect for the conclavists who actually go ahead and elect a pope, even if it's only with 6 votes. Right? Mm-hmm. In the case of Michael, 6 votes, and it was half of them were his family members. I have more respect for that than a sedevacantist, because if you're Catholic, you have to have a pope. Where's your
Right.
pope? Get a pope. Get the
Right.
bishops together. I don't care if there are only 3 bishops. Get them together and get a pope. So I have a lot
Right.
more respect for Pope Michael than I do for any sedevacantist. It sounds weird to say, but it's just like if you're gonna claim to be Catholic, get yourself a pope. Period.
Yeah, I get that too. The Sades drive me nuts. Just their whole outfit. It's just such an unappealing spirituality, if you could even call it that. It's just like so rigid and like
Holier than thou, self-righteous.
it is, yeah. And also, there's just something, I don't know why I equate good spiritual health with like fluidity, because that's also a real mistake too, because there has to be borders in place. But like when I see like shave face, wear a suit,
So that's
I just
why you
don't-
like me. Total sloppy mess.
Yep. Actually, yeah, that's part of it, man. Because like there's Kieran was talking to you about right and left yesterday, and whatever the royal path is, I have no idea what that is.
That's the road to Burger King, isn't it?
I think that's what it is. All I heard was Whoppers the whole time. No, but you're kind of subversive, and sometimes I feel like intentionally. What's the word?
Devilish.
Yeah, but which my wife also calls me a little devil. No, what's the word? A contrarian. You're just a contrarian, just be exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that, I mean, because Kieran was saying, oh yeah, you're obviously traditional in some real ways, and then not so obviously liberal in other ways. But not, I don't even know if liberal would be the appropriate word to use. But if we're to follow Jesus and his church, Jesus was always and is currently always at the center, and so it's always like a real temptation to go too far one way or the other, because it's like gotta go sit in my camp, and it's way less comfortable to be where you are, because like everybody hates David.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with my position because, as you said, there's that tension that can never get resolved. But the reason that I don't adopt a contrary position just for the fun of it, I adopt it because I want to cling to certain principles, and those principles are pulling me in different directions. For example, with Pope Francis, I love him and respect him, and the papacy is the most important thing for me. But I disagree with the Pope about certain things that I think are important, like evolution and the COVID situation and all that sort of thing.
Do you believe in evolution? Or,
no, I do not.
You don't believe in evolution. Okay, you're a creationist.
Yeah, young Earth creationist. That's a shorthand way of saying it, but it's like the traditional Catholic position is the first 11 or 12 books or whatever it is of Genesis are primarily history, like sacred history, and they're to be interpreted in the common sense sort of way, like this stuff happened, the flood and the Tower of Babel, all that stuff happened,
Sure.
And it's just that evolution is philosophically untenable. I cannot believe in evolution, like molecules to man evolution is just impossible, like just based on pure reason. So even if I lost faith in Christ and his church, I would still be a creationist, right? Before I became a Christian, I was a creationist because I was, I was a hard solipsist at one point. I thought I was the creator of everything, including this fantasy world that I inhabit. And when I became a monotheist, obviously I believed that God created everything out of nothing. And it never occurred to me to say, well, yeah, he must have made billions of years of evolution. Like that just does, it's just not, it's never been an option for me. Even as an atheist, I didn't believe that. So, and it's not a deal breaker because I can respect a Catholic saint who doesn't happen to believe in special creation and that has been lured into Darwinism and evolution. I can respect a Catholic saint who who is wrong about that. You know, I don't have any problem with that. And if the recent popes are wrong about that, it's like, okay, well, we're like you and I discuss often, we're all wrong about most
Tons of
things,
stuff.
tons
Yeah.
of stuff, tons of important stuff. You know, it's not about the intellect. Catholicism is not about the intellect. It's about the will.
Right.
And if we think about the fact that God created us and He is the author of our intellect, if He wanted us all to be geniuses, He could boost our IQs as much as He wanted to. It's not important at all. And if we think about the Catholic family that's adopted a bunch of, or gave birth to, and is loving and taking care of mentally challenged children, it's the poster of the Holy Family. It's like that's the pinnacle of the Holy Family. You know, these mentally challenged people and people with other kinds of challenges that are supported by the family and not just killed and disposed of because they're inconvenient.
Right.
Right? And it's the same thing with every other kind of defect, except the defect of the will. That's the one that can send you to hell when you're like, no, I'm not going to do God's will. I'm going to do my will. So that's the one defect we have to take seriously. But I just watched a show about, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but
Yeah.
I'll let you talk. But I just watched a show with my wife about the intellect and IQ and the so-called geniuses and what is genius. And, oh, wouldn't it be exciting if we figured out the science of the brain so that we could turn everyone into an intellectual genius with a high IQ. I'm like, no, that's not exciting. There's nothing exciting about that. These people are evil. You know, I mean, you know, they showed Stephen Hawking, like this guy is the epitome of evil for me. Stephen Hawking and those guys. It's just like total godless hubris. And it's like, no, why don't we have on mainstream television, because this was a mainstream show with William Shatner, why don't we have the Catholic saints being venerated and honored, and instead of speculating, oh, St. Paul might have been a homosexual. That's what Kieran told me yesterday. That's not his opinion. That's something that he had heard from that Anglican Bishop Spong that your Uncle Mark talked about. So I'll let you respond to all that, but then I want to talk about your Uncle Mark and his video if you watched it.
Sure. I did watch it, and backed up a little bit. A couple things I wanted to say that are not my own words, which is cool. Saint Teresa of Avila said that prayer is not about thinking much, but in loving much. And so, like, thank God for that, because if you ever read a manual on mental prayer, it gets really heady, it gets really deep, and it's just like, oh, how am I supposed to ever do this? Like, I like the act of meditating upon something seems to be so thorough and so above our grasp. It's like watching like a power lifter, you know, deadlift 500 or 600 pounds. It's like, well, yeah, because when you look at that, you don't see the million steps that it took to get there. And believe me, a lot of human beings can get there. Mystical union is possible for every human being, pretty much. I mean, yeah, pretty much. And people that it's not tenable for can usually get there through other means, like just vocal prayer, which is awesome. You know, that's like really cool that we can scale the heights and meet God wherever we're at, because you know, that's usually what's called for. So wait, where was I going with that?
Teresa of Avila.
Teresa of Avila and prayer, and then also we were talking about genius, like levels of intellect. There was an author, John Green, who wrote Looking for Alaska, and he wrote The Fault in Our Stars, a bunch of preteen books. They're not actually preteen, excuse me. They're more like teen books, but they're really good. And he, in an interview, spoke about genius as being circumstantial and not something that people can just hold for their entire lives, or not everybody can hold for their entire lives. And he cited Mark Twain and how he brilliantly wrote Joan of Arc, and then in the same breath wrote another book that was an absolute piece of garbage. And I don't know what the piece of garbage work was, but I like the idea that genius is is possible in some areas and then impossible in other areas, just within even a single human being. I was in a science class a couple years ago, and my teacher was a genetics, I guess, professional. He did a lot of stem cell work and did a lot of like artificial insemination. And he was talking about how for one of his graduate courses, he manipulated a chicken embryo to grow a third leg, and he was really proud of this. And they started talking about epigenetics in class. And one of the smartest students in class, who I really liked, said something about like, oh yeah, it'll be great one day. Like we can modify children so that like we can give them hair color, or they can avoid any kind of sickness or any kind of disease. And I said, doesn't that like, don't you think, that could be a really bad idea? And he's like, why would I ever think about that? And it was like, you're smart enough to like probe into the depths of this new technology, but not smart enough to think like if it would be appropriate to do that. And to me, that was really disturbing, that it's like, I'm a solid C+B student in those situations. Mm. But I was the one sitting there saying like, hey, we shouldn't do that, because they made a movie about it and it's called Jurassic Park. And everybody dies in that film. And the only person that was saying like, no, we shouldn't do that, was Jeff Goldblum. So like, if Jeff Goldblum says no, then maybe we should all slow down and like start asking more questions, start probing, and start seeing if certain things are appropriate. Because
how old were you? How old were you at this time?
When I said that?
Yeah.
26.
Okay.
27 maybe. It was like first or second year of marriage. So this was when I was 27, because it was when I was doing some stuff, prerequisites for nursing. So
you used your first year of marriage, second year of marriage. That's kind of like in the Old Testament days. It's like the first year of the reign of the new king, and that was the sort of the sign that you'd made it as the king of the tribe or whatever. Is like when they start dating everything according to your reign. Huh. So you have your queen. What's your queen's name?
Rachel.
Rachel. Ooh, nice name.
Yeah, it's a good name. Yeah.
I never met a Rachel that wasn't beautiful, by the way. They're always beautiful.
My wife is a good looking woman.
I was thinking I should interview her, not because she's beautiful, but because she's a Lisney. Oh shit! I meant to say now I can't say Lindsay.
She's a Lindsay.
Is she a Lindsay?
She's a Lindsay.
Is she really?
She really dedicated herself to learning and spelling the last name correctly, because as soon as we got married, she changed it, and she was like,
Does she have a PhD in distinguishing Lisney from Lindsay?
She does.
Wow.
You bet she does. Yeah, and she is a Lisney wife through and through. Lisney women that are married into the family are very tolerant human beings that sit there and usually roll their eyes a lot because they hear the same tired old jokes over and over and over again, or see the same inappropriate
Has she heard the Jennifer is gay joke?
I don't think she's heard. Am I Jennifer? I can't remember.
No, he's Jennifer.
Oh, Kieran's Jennifer.
Yeah.
No, but she hears Kieran get called gay all the time, and vice versa. I called him and I left him a voicemail the other day, and I started talking like this. I'm like, "Hey, bro," or no, I sent him a message where I was making fun of Back to the Future because The Power of Love was on the radio, and I did the whole like, "You need to tell me it's 8:45. I'm late for school," and then I sent him that, and she's like, I knew you were talking to Kieran because of the voice you were making, and I'm just like, yeah, that's probably really awful. It's probably not good.
Did you get my email? I just got off the phone with Matthew Murdoch.
Dude, how's he doing?
He promised me that he might do a live stream with me this afternoon.
He promised that he might do it.
He promised that he might.
Get him on here.
Like he seems like he's open to it. He wants to do it, and I really desperately want to get him on because it's been too long.
How long has it been?
I can Google it to find the answer, like everything else in life. But he seems a little bit low energy. Let's just put it that way. I mean, I want to pump him up and get him pumped up.
Mm-hmm. Who's the other gent? Who's the gent with the accent that you have that's probably mine and Kieran's age and was like in the realm of
Jen or Gent? What did you say?
gent.
Gent.
Um, uh, he is like fiercely Catholic, very in love with his faith. I think he converted from Protestantism. He's had a lot of interactions with Kieran. He's had a couple with me. He referred to me when I had my beard shaved and I didn't have any product in my hair. He called me Derek Prince in the
Was he
comments.
was he ever actually interviewed by me on the show?
I think he was Nicola, or
Okay. Yeah. Nick Krisick.
yeah.
Nicola
Okay.
Krisick. Yeah. He wants to chat with you boys.
He should. That would be really cool.
Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll make that happen Easter weekend maybe.
I'm working all weekend. I work Saturday, Sunday. I
Oh.
know, dude. It sucks. I
Oh.
work. Yeah, dude. It's one of the worst things about work is that there's always a weekend where they schedule me Saturday and Sunday, and I have one rule about my schedule because like we're supposed to sign up for our schedules, and I'm like, you can schedule me whatever days you want. The only thing is that I go to mass on Saturdays or Sundays. So please, like, if you're gonna schedule me on the weekends, you can schedule me weekends. Just don't schedule me a Saturday and a Sunday back to back. I don't like it. And it happens without fail once a month, so I just take it. I just do it. And it's like,
Offer
okay,
it up. Offer it up, man.
that's right. That's what they say.
February 8th, 2020 was my last interview, or well, conversation with Matthew Murdoch.
Wow.
But I've got the funny thing is I've been thinking, I took quite a break in 2021. I took a break I was going through a rough patch, and I think I'm coming out of it. Things are getting better spiritually for me and mass attendance and this sort of thing. So I thank God for that. But
Do you have more access to the sacraments now?
yeah,
Or
I got
cool.
complete access now. So
Direct correlation? Are you thinking?
yeah. There's a direct correlation for sure. Like, I mean, I'm just
Sure.
weak, so I need. I will default to my sinful ways, so I need prayer and the sacraments, and my prayer life suffers without the sacraments. But the funny thing is, I'm thinking about going back, and I've got a couple more Matthew Murdoch gems in the archives that I haven't published yet, that I haven't edited. Because back in the day, I used to record long conversations and edit them, but it's very time consuming. That's why I do the live thing. But I'm thinking of pulling out some more Matthew Murdoch because there's some real gems. Like he's such a natural guy, and he comes out with stuff that's how do I characterize that? Like a child, when a child speaks, and they just delight you with the that spontaneity and that purity and that sort of thing, like that. That's what I like.
He's a real consumer. He consumes so much data. Like he listens to so much. He watches a lot. I think he reads a lot. I don't even know if this speaks to who he is now anymore, but I've known that he's like watched hours and hours and hours of debate. And he's one of those like auditory learners where he can just like process and learn. And I hate him for it because it's like, dude, it's like Kieran. There's like a natural capacity to learn. Whereas me, I have to like steep in something for a long period of time and get comfortable with it and like lose all anxiety surrounding whatever it is. And then even then there's still tons of, even then at my best, it's usually like B+. It's never like A work. And so if I get into something and I'm really good at it or I have a real aptitude towards it, I'm always like right below top tier, which really hurts my pride. But the cool thing is that because it takes me longer to process and to like get things, they usually stick with me longer, or I usually stick with them for longer parts of time. So like Kieran's more naturally fit than I am, like just naturally as a human being. But for the past 12 or 13 years, I've been exercising consistently, and I know quite a bit. And so like I know that I don't think Kieran exercises regularly. I don't think he like puts too much stock in it, but when he wants to, he can. He's very good at it. And he could probably still like absolutely destroy me in any of those areas. But it's nice because I've had a consistent relationship with this discipline, and I think that's really served me. So even though I'm not the best, and even though like there's tons of people that know more about me, I have gotten to a working relationship with it where I can do things that serve me and that are fun at the same time and are effective. And so maybe the goal in the prayer life or in the spiritual life too should be the same, where it's not necessarily to be the best, but to be the best for
To
yourself
be
and to
clean shaven and to sit up straight with the tie. That's the goal. I think that's the goal
That's
of
right.
spirituality. I'm not sure, but I think
Exactly.
so. Based on the YouTube ratings system, I think that's that's the goal.
That's right.
But I think I always think about religion in terms of a romantic relationship, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
the key to a successful marriage is compromise and um, uh, adaptability, and you called it
Mm-hmm.
fluidity or flexibility, or putting the other's will ahead of your own will, and these sorts of things occasionally, and when it's appropriate, and being firm when it's appropriate, which
Right.
is it does there are circumstances where I have to be firm, but so being the best, like the sign of what is the sign, what is a good marriage? A good marriage is one that's loving and lasting, right?
Right.
And there's mutual self-giving and self-sacrificial love, like that's it. I mean, it's not an IQ test. It's, again, we're back to the intellect versus the will. It's like it's so obvious to me that it's about the will and it's about love, and I'm still talking about marriage, but I'm also talking about our marriage to Christ, and it's so obvious. And so when I think about the left-right dichotomy and how I get excited by right-wing rebels and fanatics and even conspiracy theorists, I get excited by them, but I also am married to the Pope, and in this case Pope Francis, who's controversial and who I
Mm-hmm.
disagree with in some ways, some important ways. When I think about that tension, what gets me through, and the reason I can sleep at night and I'm not tossing and turning, oh, I got to resolve the tension, which camp am I in? Which pigeonhole do I fit neatly into? No, I lost zero sleep over that, because I'm in a relationship with Jesus Christ, and we're in a fallen world, and I'm broken, the Pope's broken, and these right-wing rigid nut jobs that get me excited, they're also broken. So
Right.
whatever, the one that's not broken is Jesus Christ. He's the one. He's the way, the truth, and the life. And I'm not going to lose any sleep over these tensions, like, oh, where do I fit in which checklist, which box do I fit in? And it's just like, who cares? Literally, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what happens in adulthood is, or it's supposed to happen in adulthood. In our teenage years, we identify with people and ideologies and things, and we
Groups.
like, yeah, groups, music, art, all the above, and then we make an outfit for ourselves out of these things, and then we confuse confuse our identity with whatever that image is, and then in adulthood, you slowly, like, if you're pursuing a relationship with Jesus, you're slowly like peeling those layers that you've built up for yourself off, and every time you think that you've like peeled the last one off, you've got another one on that you're still doing, and still trying to like strip yourself down. And like in the case where you're talking about like those like right-wing rebels, and the Pope Francis lovers, and you know any of those things, those folks are still identifying themselves with their, like, with all those outer layers, and it's like, I just kind of want to know who Aidan actually is, and right now it's a coward. Most of the time I'm just a coward, and and it's like, okay, all right, well, at least I know who I am. And then I realize how quickly I go back to all the layers that I used to put on, and I'm like putting them back on because, ooh, pretty, ooh, nice, and it's like just kind of this weird fight to keep all the things that have been stripped off.
Did you have any? Did you listen to all of Kieran's thing? You listened to all of Kieran's yesterday's thing, or no?
No, I didn't, because I listened to it when I worked out, and after I was done, I turned it off and I went in and I stuffed my fat face full of food, and so that's all I can only process a couple things at one time. So I was like, all right, so now I'm gonna hang out with the wife, watch the new girl, and eat this big plate of salad. And let me tell you,
Ooh.
it was
Ooh.
delicious.
Wow.
That's
So,
right.
I should eat salad. It's a good idea. I
Do you
should
like
eat salad.
salad?
I love it, but I just don't prepare it because I gotta wash the lettuce. Like, washing the lettuce. Ugh.
Get the bags, dude. Or is it? Do you not do bags in Canada of salad? Is that not like a thing?
Uh, Bags of salad. Yeah, I think they sell. I think they sell it. Well, I mean, my favorite salad is cabbage salad, so you don't have to wash it.
Mm-hmm.
It's shredded.
Do you
So
like shredded cabbage?
I love anything that's cabbage related. I love it, even though it allegedly gives people gas, but whatever. I mean, I've had gas my whole life, so I just don't notice the difference. But it's just anything that's cabbage. I love it, and especially sauerkraut.
Have you ever had Vietnamese pho, the soup,
No.
noodle soup, rice noodle soup? They do cabbage in that. Dude, so banging. Go get
I
yourself
can't do
some.
it.
You can't?
I don't eat garlic or onions.
Really?
Yeah,
Ever?
never. Just
Oh,
only by
dude.
accident, and then I'm sick for 3 days.
Oh, you get physically ill from it.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Don't go on that adventure then.
But the reason I'm talking about what was I talking about with you? Oh yeah, I'm talking about your brother, and he
Mm-hmm.
had an interesting perspective, which I was a little bit surprised and disappointed because
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh no 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 no, as Christians we can't rebel, we can't be rebellious.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that maybe that would be something that you would say, but I thought that Kieran would be like, yeah, like rebellious and like angry at the tyranny of the governments and all that. But he's like, no, we need to be calm and peaceful and just go about our business serving
Mm-hmm.
Christ. And I thought that's what you would say, but I was very surprised at his anti-rebellion stance, which I understand. Like, I mean, I'm anti-rebellion too,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, we we do not like the prophets of old. They did not want their brothers and sisters being enslaved by a satanic system, by the idolatry and the idols and the
Mm-hmm.
adultery and everything else. And they stood up to the political tyrants. And I thought I could get a little bit more of that from your brother. So I was a little bit surprised and
Disappointed.
disappointed. Yeah, like he's softening. He is softening, which I'm happy about.
Mm-hmm.
The Orthodox thing is good for him, I think.
Which is nice because um, in Orthodoxy, polemics is rampant. Like and
Aggressive.
it's like that. It's what?
It's aggressive.
Yeah. Um, and I don't know if Kieran would say he sees it in Catholicism because I honestly, maybe I'm just biased because I'm Catholic, but I think that Catholics are less polemic in nature than the Orthodox are. I was in an Orthodox chat with Kieran for a while with his buddies, and there were a couple times when I got really, really irritated by things that were being said, and it wasn't by Kieran. And Kieran once rightly pointed out, he's like, "Well, this group is called Let Us Be Attentive. So let's, he's like, it's about talking about certain issues. That's what the group is formed for." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "That's a good point." I wasn't really understanding the ground rules of this whole thing, so I kind of just backed out of the group slowly because it was just like, "Well, this isn't spiritually edifying for me. This is just people like posting Orthodox videos of this and that." And like one of the last straws was this Orthodox monk who was shouting at the Pope as he got out of a car, and it was like, the Pope is a heretic. The Pope is a heretic, and it's like, oh, okay, congratulations. I mean, what was won in that interaction?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was possibly, like, what was the good of that? I mean, like, Jesus didn't shout out about Herod or Pontius Pilate or about Caiaphas or is it Caiaphas? Who was the high priest
The
who
high
Jesus
priest
got?
was Caiaphas, I think.
Yeah, he didn't do that. I mean, they slapped Jesus in the face, and the most he ever said was like, "Hey, like if I'm wrong, like I'm wrong, but why'd you slap me?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I see a lot of, and I see that in a lot of Orthodox writing too, because I love a lot of Orthodox writing because it's really, there seems to be this thread of continuity in Paulinism that you don't see too much in Catholicism, and you do see it in Catholicism, but you just see it in different veins. So like you have like the camp that follows Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross, and you see a real thread of continuity that goes through that. But I realize that like anytime I get into one of those camps myself, I find myself getting irritated with them. So like the things that I get irritated with the Palamists for, which is seemingly like all the polemics and all of the like, if you don't say the Jesus prayer, um, you're not on the right path, you know, that kind of thing. Because they refer to the Jesus prayer as the prayer, say the prayer, which is good. I love that prayer. But I feel like there's this insinuation that that is the only prayer worth praying, and it's like that to me then becomes too boxed into this like one area where there's no versatility. It's not addressing something, and something gets missed. However, I'm going to say in the same breath, when you get into Saint Teresa of Avila, when you get into Saint John of the Cross, you get the same kind of staunch attitude, where people get really comfortable in that camp and they're like, "This is right. This is the theology we have to go with and we have to stay with." And you get this kind of rigid adherence to it that produces a polemic that just pisses me off. And it's you know, I don't know. Maybe that's just my pride striking out against it, but Dan Burke and Connie Rossini in the Catholic world do a lot of stuff. They wrote a book on the Rosary called the Contemplative Rosary, and basically it basically gave some really good instructions for how to pray the Rosary contemplatively, or in a contemplative manner. But also, the more that I pray the Rosary, the more that I'm like, nah, a lot of this stuff was garbage, because it's coming from the camp of like approaching.
I'm just picturing like you buy the book from Amazon, you open the front cover, and on that first inner page, like an endorsement, there's a testimony from Aidan Lindsay that says this book is a bunch of garbage.
And it's not actually, because I've like I gave that book away because it really is edifying.
Oh, you owned the physical book too?
Yeah, and I read it front to back, and I kept referencing it and going back to it because it was really good. And it referenced in Rosarium, Mariae, or whatever the apostolic letter was by Saint John Paul II.
Yeah.
But it was really good. But it basically presented the Rosary like as a means to reach contemplation, but only in the circumstances in which it described. And then it was basically like, yeah, you need to practice this form of mental prayer for this to mean anything, and then approach the Rosary this way. And I was like, well, that's a good direction, but that's also not the truth, capital T. That's your opinion of how this should be approached. And prayer can be approached from many modalities. And if you refer back to a conversation that you and I have had, maybe even a year ago, you said, well, Aidan, like if somebody has a little obscure devotion that's like the back door into prayer, and it's like a video game inside of a video game inside of a video game thing, but it still gets them to the Lord, that's a very legitimate option. And that answer pissed me off at the time because I was in some camp. But then the more I started thinking about it, the more I'm like, no, that's absolutely true. There have to be all of these varied ways to reach people because people are varied themselves. And it's only until we start to get really cocky and annoying with whatever modality we're sitting in and we start pushing it onto other people, because we ultimately want everybody to experience the joy that we're experiencing. That's when I start to think like, okay, something has to be shed, something has to be axed here, because what do I know about anything? So it's like probably good to get a variety of different things, to get a bunch of different tastes, and to stick with those couple of things consistently over a period of time, so you can develop a true working relationship and opinion, if you can even call it that, of whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Did you listen to, by chance, my talk about the consecration of Russia?
No, I didn't. You did like a solo talk?
I recommend it. Yeah, I recommend it, not to self-promote, but it
Uh,
was basically for you because I did it for my friend Matthew Bates, who lives in Australia. He said, "Do a video on the consecration. Do a video on the consecration."
mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay. I just flipped on the camera and started talking, and it just so happens that I'd had a good experience praying. Well, not praying the rosary, but I did pray the rosary. But my good experience was during the 15 minutes of meditation on the mysteries during the
Uh-huh.
first Saturday devotion. I don't know if you're doing.
I do know.
Anyway, you have to listen to it because I thought this is for Aidan, because Aidan loves the rosary and he loves exploring or discovering the different approaches to meditation on the mysteries of the rosary and stuff like that. So I had I'll give you a spoiler alert now, but you can still go and listen to it. I hope you'll listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
The spoiler alert is I had sort of like a semi-mystical experience while I was in church meditating on the mysteries, and
Dope.
the takeaway, other than that sort of emotional experience that I had, which I was very moved emotionally, was that there's a sort of inversion, and it's not a satanic inversion, it's a Catholic inversion of the mysteries that I discovered or invented or whatever. And just to put it in a nutshell really quickly, the sorrow of Mary during the joyful mysteries,
Mm-hmm.
and the darkness of Mary in the luminous mysteries, and the joy of Mary during the sorrowful mysteries, and the mundane or normal or ordinary, regular perspective on the glorious mysteries.
Oh, that's
Okay,
awesome.
so it's like it was quite trippy when I sort of discovered that, and it was a palpable thing. Like, I started meditating on the joyful mysteries, but it was just, I was just struck. I had placed myself in the presence of Mary as she asked us to do
Uh-huh.
during the meditation on the mysteries, and it's the first time I've properly done that, and I'm hoping to take the time to properly pray the rosary. I mean, I pray it every day, but I don't pray it with attention and placing myself. And
Mm-hmm.
being in church really helped. Okay, being in church before Mass after confession, that really
Mm-hmm.
helped.
Oh yeah,
So,
definitely.
you know,
Definitely.
so, and the organ music was playing, and it was just like before the Mass started, and wow, it was just amazing. So anyway, that sorrow struck me, the sorrow of Mary during the joyful mysteries. Wow, that was amazing, And it's trippy. It's trippy. It's trippy. It's equally trippy doing the inversions of the other ones. And
I'll have to try
the
that. I will definitely try that.
yeah. So it was very exciting. It's like one of the few times in my life where I have a breakthrough, or I feel like something mystical or something like a connected in my prayer life,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, okay, I have to pray, so I'm gonna do this. Let's get it over with, bang. And I know I harp on about this all the time, and I should do something about it rather than just complaining about it all the time to you. But I have this genuine experience, and I can tell you it's so much better being connected during prayer. It's like just so much better, right? Why would we not take the time to connect like that and just? It's called recollection. That's what Saint Teresa of Avila always talks about, right?
I was just gonna bring that up. Active recollection.
Yeah.
Mark and I were just talking about active recollection
Uncle
a
Mark?
couple days ago. Uncle Mark, because he was given an assignment by the spiritual director about praying from the heart, and he's like, "Oh, what is that?" And it's really confounding him. And I texted him one day when I was at the grocery store. I'm like, "Dude, how's your prayer of the heart coming?" And he's like, "Well, actually, I started to like write out, like what he thought about prayer." And one of the parts he was talking about, like, he's like, "It didn't really occur to me that I should be like sitting down and putting myself in the presence of God." And it doesn't occur to us a lot of the time. We just like sit down and just like bash it out. But it's Saint Teresa said, if you spend a year, spend a year obtaining the skill of active recollection, that's a year well spent. And like, I agree, like Brother Lawrence, the practicing of the presence of God, like your whole life then becomes a prayer just simply through awareness of God's presence. And I think that that's there's something to be said about that, because I like to speed through everything, and I like to think about what's next, and like how much can I get, and how much is going to pleasure me, and what's going to make me feel good. So like those simple moments of like sitting down and taking a breath, really
I got
necessary.
that Saturday, the first Saturday of April, I went to confession, and it had only been 2 or 3 weeks since I did my previous confession. I didn't have a lot of sins, whatever. So I got a light penance. Okay, my light penance was hilarious. My light
20
penance.
push-ups.
No, my light penance was pay attention to the mass.
Nice.
Pay attention. Be attentive to the mass. Be attentive to what I say, because he's the priest. He's like, be attentive to what I'm saying and participate in whatever. It's like, oh, okay.
That's actually
it made a
seemingly
difference.
simple.
It made a difference. It did make a difference, because I don't know if he read my mind or what, but like, I mean, I do have a tendency to like pay attention, and then like I'll get an idea and I'll drift off and I'll think about my idea, and then I come back, and then I think about my idea and another idea, and then I come back to the to being active. So during that mass, I would start to drift out and then come back, without going all the way like to fantasy land.
That's cool.
So the penance worked, and I can't say I got a lot more out of the mass than normal, but I appreciate that it showed me just how
it gave you a
light I am.
boundary, it gave you a perimeter, and it said, don't pass this, because it made it a little more important for you to pay attention during Mass.
And I kept looking at him thinking, like, is he watching me? Is he watching? Because I sit
really like
close.
what Kieran
I sit
said
close
yesterday.
to him.
That's awesome, though. That's so cool. I always give my mass or my priest the, what's up, buddy? Because he's.
I make my priest so uncomfortable, because I always do prayer hands and I bow to him when he comes in down the aisle.
Yeah.
And then when he leaves and whatever, I'm the only one that does it. No, you idiot! I say namaskar. It's more polite.
Blessings. Ugh, the worst. Man.
That's he's very uncomfortable with that, but I do the same thing during the what do you call it when everyone waves and hugs each other in the pews?
Awkward.
The greeting, or what, the love, or what, kiss, or whatever. I don't like that.
That's
like
one of the worst parts of Mass for me.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I like it when the priest doesn't do it, but that's what I do. I just do my little namaste, namaskar.
I always love it when I see the little old people doing the peace. I'm like, hey, peace. And it's just like, come on, guys. Was it like 12 that's like the sign that we took up?
Next time I'll bring a doobie. I'll spark it up during that. Like, spark up the doobie. The bong. Man. Big bong.
All I could think of when we were outside today is like somebody, like I was hoping it would be me, just like, oh, we're outside at Mass. Like I could just light up while we're doing this first part of Palm Sunday.
Do you smoke?
No, I'm an ex-smoker. I used to smoke. I quit years.
You only smoke on special occasions like Palm Sunday.
Exactly.
Did you hear Kieran's story about the guy eating chicken on the steps of the church?
Yeah, but I didn't understand what the chicken meant. Was it just like
it's
like
the Royal
Cavalier?
Road? It's the Royal Road. You take a left at Burger King, you go to KFC.
Right, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was just thinking bucket of chicken, and I'm like, what's wrong with that? I'd eat chicken outside of church. I mean, like, what's going on there? Kieran, I liked what Kieran was saying about peace yesterday, about like discernment. Like you can always follow. If something comes from God, there's this certain peace that like overflows from whatever that is. And I think Kieran's experiencing that. And I think that that's really cool.
Yeah.
He's really enjoying like being plugged into his community. And I think that that's awesome. It's inspired me because I started, and it also my buddy Tim inspired me. And Tim is a part of Kieran's community, but there's something really cool about the way that Orthodoxy approaches liturgy, because it's like really like ingrained in everything. And so like Tim and his wife pray like all these like daily like prayers together, and it started during COVID when they couldn't go to church, and so they started like doing, and the prayers would change for the day, and I was like, oh, that's really awesome. That's really cool that there's this like interconnectivity there, and that there's this like connection to the whole body. that everybody participates in. And it seems like it's a pretty common thing that if you're like actually on fire, those are the things that you're doing besides praying the Jesus prayer. And so Kieran does that too. I'm like, Kieran, you read your lectionary? He's like, yeah, every day. And I'm like, oh man, that's cool. That like the answer is yes, but it's just an automatic yes. And for me, I'm like, maybe I should do that. So I decided that I needed to approach, I needed to do some kind of pure form of mental prayer that was just, that didn't have beads connected to it, just so I could see what this would turn into. So I purchased myself a copy of the daily lectionary so that I could go through and every day practice some Lectio Divina with the prayer readings. And the cool thing is that like with the daily readings, there's the Old Testament, there's the Psalms, there's the New Testament, so that like if one element doesn't speak to you, you have a couple of other elements that you can pick up and you can pray with. So I get to practice the Lectio, and I also get to plug into the body every day, and everybody else gets to do it. And it's scripture. So like there's this other element that acknowledges our Protestant brothers and sisters that you're interacting with Jesus through the Word of God, and that's been really, really exciting for me.
Can you show me the physical book?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just Amazon, though.
Amazon just dinged the doorbell?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So can you just show me today's thing?
Did my bookmark fall up? No, it didn't. Today we had the huge section in there, but like the readings from today.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
Show me a random day that's not today so I can see your typical day.
So like here, like.
Uh-huh.
So it's 2 pages, and I only have one section that I prayed from.
Okay.
And then, but
do they
read the whole thing.
Do they have the non-scripture text that the priest would say, the collect and all that?
No, and I didn't need any of that. I just wanted something that was going to compile all of the readings for the day. Oh wait, I'm trying to show you my bookshelf again.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that good for every year, or do you need to?
No, you need to switch it because all of the days fall on different, as the cycle comes. Is that my stuff? What is it? Stuff that you bought me for my birthday? Okay, so I can't open that.
Happy birthday!
Ooh. Not for another 10 days.
Okay.
420. Blaze it.
Okay.
What up? Are you familiar with 420?
Yeah, it's the cop sign for marijuana or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you just showed your age right there, David. Come on now, 420 blaze it. That's what we all say.
I used to work at a head shop. It was all a bunch of stoners, and I was the only one that's straight edge.
Really? Why'd you work at a head shop if you were?
I walked in with my friend who, I don't know why went in there. I don't know if he'd smoked drugs or what, but I was chatting with the owner of the shop, and my friend said, my friend David does computer stuff, and he's like, hey, do you want a job? And I said, sure. Because I didn't like my job at the time. I had to do a long commute, 1 hour commute on my bike every day, so this was closer, and I grew to really love this man, this owner of this shop. He's a good friend of mine now, and I worked for him for a few years, and it's a bit...
And his name's Pope Michael?
Huh?
And his name's Pope Michael?
No, but it's a little bit tense now because he's totally gung-ho about the vax. Like he wants everyone to get it, and he thinks if you don't get it, you should be stripped of all your human rights and everything else. So it's been a little tiny bit of tension, but I'm a live and let live kind of guy. Like, I mean, you're free to have your opinion, and if you want to try to wrestle me to the ground and inject me with an experimental gene therapy, then I'll just take whatever evasive action is necessary, and may the best man win. Huh?
Have you ever watched Arrested Development?
No.
Oh my goodness, you have to watch Arrested Development.
I'm aware of the show. I've seen little snippets and the never nude guy and all that.
never nude guy happens to be breaking into somebody's apartment who he thinks is blind, and she comes home and she knows he's there, but she can't break character and pretend that she's not blind, and he's like rolling around the house like a cat and thinks he's really clever and hiding against the wall. And all I could imagine was you avoiding somebody in the same manner who's coming at you with a vaccination, just slowly like rolling.
That's classic. I'll have to check that out.
So you wanted to chat about Mark's conversation?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
The whole thing. I went for a really long walk, and I listened to it, and it was great. It was really cool.
He reminds me so much of you.
Though, too.
He reminds me so much of you. Oh, you listened to it live?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. As it was on.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really cool.
Yeah, he's quite a guy.
I should remind you of him because he. Wait, did I say that right? Because I just stole all of his mannerisms, basically.
Okay, so. He's the original?
Yeah, for sure. He's the one who facilitated this, I suppose.
So you got to find out who the real Kieran is. Minus...
That would be Dad.
Okay.
Kieran and Dad are really similar. Dad's a really gentle Kieran, but they still have this kind of aloof attitude. Like
you and Mark are warmer.
Yeah, but my dad has always been warm too.
He looks warm.
He is warm. He is, and Kieran is too. But it's just a different type of warmth. It's just
a cold warmth.
It's a cold warmth. Yeah, I mean, like my dad, like my uncle, like shared this memory a couple years ago. It's like, I watched your dad with one of you as an infant. And apparently he was like holding us in his hands and we had something on our face. And he just so violently took a washcloth and just, like wiped our face off. Yeah, just like whatever. But he was just so natural about it. So there was definitely this like roughness, but like a natural, but it was very natural at the same time. It's like, so, which appalled Uncle Mark. He was just like, I couldn't like imagine an infant just taking that in the face. But
that explains so much about your faces, though.
What do you mean?
I'm just joking.
Over my head. You can see intellectually that I'm below Kieran and Mark.
I'm just picturing like you and your brother's faces being deformed by your father when you were very young. Like, did you fall on your head when you were a child? No, but my father.
My dad. Yeah. My dad
rearranged our features. No, you're both very symmetrical and beautiful looking men. Don't worry about it. It was just a joke.
Our hair covers up the
scars.
The scars on their head. I'm not even kidding about that. Like, we probably have very lumpy, gross looking heads. Kieran and I will die. We will die the grossest looking human beings in the world. So right now we need to live it up because this is the best it's ever going to be.
His mom, I think was it your mom or his aunt that wanted to see a picture of Kieran's hairdo yesterday?
His mother-in-law.
His mother-in-law, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you get along with her?
I don't know her. I don't know her very well. I've only met her a couple times. So.
Would your wives come on to the podcast or no?
No, not even a little bit.
I've asked before.
Yeah.
I had Jennifer Murdoch on, right?
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew you had a conversation, but I think I listened to it.
It was audio only.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It was back in the day before I was doing video. So, that was an interesting conversation because she was all upset that he was moving towards Catholicism. And I don't know exactly where he's at any given time, but hopefully we'll talk. Hopefully we'll talk today.
Has he reached back out to you and said anything about no?
Well, yeah, they're getting I spoke to him today, and I don't know how much I can say, but I think they're reconciling, and
cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so important to me, that people work it out, and it's complicated because I don't think she's not the mother of his child or whatever. I don't know the situation, but I think he had another woman before or whatever. If I went back and listened to his interviews, I could figure out he had another woman before, and I'm not sure if he was married or before and all that sort of thing. That's why it's complicated when you live a sordid life and sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and then you say, hey, I want to be Christian and I'd like to be Catholic, and then you know, it's a little bit complicated if you're in an irregular situation with a
Right.
woman, and I lived that firsthand. I'm still suffering because of it. Uh, I mean, I was never married before, and neither was she, but it's just like the whole religion
No,
thing.
there's
And
always adjustments too. There's always adjustments because, um, your commitments start to shift, they start to change, um, and then it becomes like a balancing act and trying to be good to everybody. And yeah, I understand it.
I
I get it
understand
well.
what St. Paul said, like, it's better if you don't get married. It's better.
Yeah, he did say that, didn't he?
But
He wanted everybody to be unhappy like him.
no, but we get a lot of joy from marriage and from our women.
Definitely. That's
We
right.
get a lot
I
of
was watching the show yesterday with Rachel, and I thought it was so funny. One of the characters is just broken up, and he's going through a bunch of girls and talking to his ex girlfriend about it. They're still friends, and he's like, uh, um, I call them uh-ohs. He's like, because it takes the mistake off of them and puts it back onto me, and it's like enjoying that. He also calls them bone cronies, uh,
okay.
pork pals. Um, I just get such a kick out of this. I don't even know why I'm telling you this, but this is what's in my mind right now. And like stuff like that pops up at church where I'm just like laughing at bone cronies while they're like, well, I should be prayerfully approaching the sacraments, but I mean, like, you know,
Well, we do have to laugh at the human condition. The human condition, um, you know, so much of it has to do with sexual abuse. When I say that, I mean we're just abusing the sacrament of marriage, like we're abusing it, and
right.
some of us more than others. You
Mm-hmm.
know, philanderers and people that just want to get another notch on their bedpost or whatever it is.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know, they're on that journey. And did you hear what I said to Kieran about my ecumenical vision? And have you heard that from me before or no?
I have not, no.
Okay. I'll bounce it off you just like I bounced it off him, see if I get a different reaction from you. But I liked his
Okay.
reaction, you know. Um, the thought experiment that I've been doing, the meditation I've been doing, is just in a public space when there are lots of people around, strangers. I'll designate a handful of them as lost, they're going to hell, and I might be among that group, but I just randomly pick a handful of people, and then
Mm-hmm.
I say these are the reprobates, they will not repent, they're going to go to hell. And it's just a thought experiment, so there's nothing binding to it. It's just like, for example, this guy, that girl, whatever, that little baby, that cute little baby there,
Cow.
gonna end up in hell, okay,
Right.
for whatever reason. And this is not binding, it's just as a thought experiment. And then everyone else that I didn't designate as reprobate is obviously going to end up in heaven, right? So the thought experiment is that now look at those people, the leftovers that are kind of randomly selected, right? Not based on
Mm-hmm.
merits, not based on anything, not based on their religion, not based on the skin color, certainly. And you just say, this is a fact. I may have got the groupings wrong, like the two groups, I may have divided the groups wrong, but it's just an example, it's just an exercise to say that those people that are not going to hell are going to heaven. Therefore, they are members of Jesus Christ and they are members of the Church of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Point final. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I explained to Kieran, and I'll explain to you the sort of threefold categorization, subcategorization of that group that's going to heaven that belong to the church. There are those that are in full communion. They have the faith and they're in the state of grace. Then there are those who have the faith, but they're not in the state of grace currently. And then there are those that don't even have the faith. And so certainly they're not in the state of grace, but they have the
Mm-hmm.
potential to get the faith, and they have the potential to get into the state of grace. Just like a Catholic who is a practicing Catholic who happens to be in the state of mortal sin,
Mm-hmm.
he or she has the potential to get back into the state of grace, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Sacramental confession or perfect contrition or whatever it is. So just as you stand in the grocery line, you can sort of do this experiment where you just sort of designate those who are a portion that are going to hell. Everyone else is in one of those three relationships with the Church of Jesus Christ. But even those who are hardcore atheists but who are going to end up in heaven, they have that potential to get the faith and to get into the state of grace, and they will. Ultimately, they will.
Right.
It's amazing. It's amazing to think about. Like, okay, so you're telling me that this scuzzbag here, that's only come into the grocery store to put his bottles that he's collected and get the refund, and he's just a wino and a drug addict and a thief. You mean to tell me this guy not only has the potential to get the faith and get in a state of grace, but he is going to? Like, it is actually his destiny. Mm-hmm. And this is not to remove the free will of anyone. This is just saying from God's perspective, where he knows the path of everyone. So this meditation on ecumenism, it sort of gets rid of all this triumphalism of the Orthodox express, or some Catholics express, you know. But we can still, as Kieran pointed out, we can still say with confidence that every single person that makes it to heaven ultimately will have the fullness of the faith, and they will be in the state of grace. So if the Orthodox Church is the one true church, as Kieran believes, then every single person in that group that you're doing the thought experiment on, in this hypothetical situation,
it's Orthodox.
They're all Orthodox. And from my perspective, or from your perspective, they're all Catholic.
They're all Catholic.
So I think it relieves a lot of the infighting and the tensions among the different religions, and I think it sort of equalizes everyone. And you know, that question, that ultimate question, like, oh, well, is it the Orthodox Church or is it the Catholic Church, and whatever? It's like, who cares? Like, I mean, it's sort of secondary question at that point, don't you think?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because I was thinking about it. I was praying about it the other day, because one of the verses in the Bible was, or in the daily lectionary, was about God gathering his kingdom from all ends of the earth. And it was like in the context of like Israel. But I was thinking like, oh no, like the bigger picture is like Israel as the church. And I was thinking about that. And let's read it.
Let's open our lectionaries.
Let's open it. No, but actually, and this is what I was thinking of, because I was thinking of Catholicism and Orthodoxy as being like the two closest, even though people in the groups might say that they're very far from one another. But I will make them one nation upon the land in the mountains of Israel, and there shall be one prince for them all. Never again shall they be two nations, and never again shall they be divided into two kingdoms. No longer shall they defile themselves with their idols, their abominations, and all their transgressions. I will deliver them from all their sins of apostasy and cleanse them so that they may be my people and I may be their God. And I was like, oh yeah, that really brings me to this, to this ultimate reality of like, oh yeah, we're like all the true believers are going to end up in the same place anyway, regardless of like what we pocket ourselves into here on earth. And it's like, I'm not smart enough to like figure it out. I'm never going to like deduce it and say like, I am 100% correct, because it's just stupid. It's like, no, you know what? I feel peaceful being here. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. I feel intellectually happy with the papacy. There's a lot of evidence that points towards the papacy that I get through smarter people than me. Thank you, Jimmy Aiken. But it's just, I don't need to dig deeper than that at this moment. If somebody came up to me with like some kind of proof positive that Catholicism was wrong, then I wouldn't be able to deny it. But nobody's been able to do that. And I've been steeped in this for years now. Nobody's been able to give me something like very, very conclusive in either direction. All I know is that Protestantism is so like easily whipped. Yeah, refuted. It's just, it's not even I mean, like, no such thing as true. If you're disregarding tradition, then you disregard language, because language can't exist without tradition. So if that's the case, then there you go. Like, we can't even talk about our faith because we have to disregard everything that comes out of our mouth, because this is all tradition and the Bible is all. And that, to me, like, that completely crumbles.
Well, we were talking earlier about Pastor Art, and I don't know if you know him and his story. Do you know him and his story? No.
No, I'm already bored. His name's Pastor Art.
Anyway, I was talking earlier about how I get excited about some of these guys who talk about freedom and they're rebellious for freedom. And, Judas was rebellious for political freedom too, right? So I am aware that I need to be cautious about getting overly excited about Donald Trump or the next populist leader, you know.
Right.
But there is a tendency to get excited, like someone that promises you freedom and justice and truth and all these sorts of things. It is, you know, even if you don't, you know, you can't trust them, but even if you know that, you can still allow yourself to get excited, like someone cares about the little guy and someone's not a complete sellout, and or maybe he's
Right.
the least evil of all the options or whatever. Like you can get excited, and it's the same thing with Pastor Art. Like I mean, he inspired me. He gets me excited. He brings tears to my eyes with his preaching about Jesus Christ
Is
and
he
about the
Protestant?
truth. He's Protestant, yeah.
What kind of Protestant is
No
he?
idea. No
No. Oh,
idea.
okay.
No idea.
Come on,
I haven't.
David.
I don't know him that well. We didn't talk about it because I didn't want to open the can of worms of the Catholic versus Protestant. I just wanted to just keep it like talk about what we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
And but he's a very strong and rigid and I guess conservative type of Christian, Protestant Christian, and he was smiling, you know, when I was expressing my what should I say, my disappointment in the Catholic Church's position on COVID. I was expressing my disappointment, and he was smiling, just thinking, "Yeah, man, like you're in the horror of Babylon, and I've got the truth, you know, over here, like the true Christians."
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, it is true that I am impressed by his. You know, to be honest with you, I've said this before. I have said this before. I am impressed by Luther, even though he's an arch heretic. I am impressed by him. The
An
parts,
arch heretic?
yeah, well, major like cornerstone of big player like of arch heretic just means like a. Do you know that term?
He seems no. I just feel like twist the mustache, like has a staff, you know, reigning in hell, like
I hope he went to heaven.
arch heretic. Luther.
I hope he went to heaven. But
Do you think he did?
my point is that there, because I have this ecumenical vision,
Mm-hmm.
that if you're not going to hell, you are a member of the church. And I get this from Vatican II.
Absolutely.
Okay, the reason I'm so excited about that gives me a certain ability that I think some other Catholics or Christians or Orthodox don't have,
Mm-hmm.
to appreciate a hardcore Protestant as a Catholic. Like I'm a Catholic, but I can appreciate a hardcore Protestant, and I have a certain admiration for them that I don't have for the priests that I've met, the Catholic priests, even though they're good men, good holy men, they love God and they're serving God as best they know how. They just don't have that passion, that fire, and that freedom. That freedom from the hierarchy, which allows them to sort of be a cowboy. It's
Right.
like, no, it's just Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
you know what though? There is a certain type of aggressive cowboy,
Yeah.
wild gunslinger thing that comes with obedience.
Okay.
Which we can chat about then
Yes.
too, because
Yeah. Well, I need it as an antidote to my sort of attraction to the dark side. That dark side, which I'm not. Believe me, I'm not attracted to Protestantism, but I'm attracted to that
No, I
cowboy
believe that.
thing.
No,
I'm
no.
attracted
No,
to that
I get
cowboy
what
thing.
you're saying. Yeah. No, but here's the thing. So I keep bringing up Saint Teresa of Avila, which is so funny because I don't really like her.
I'm
and
sure you love her. I'm sure you love her.
I do. But it's just that I've been just stumbling into a lot of stuff with her lately. But she, in her Interior Castle, wrote so aggressively for the hierarchy. She's just like, may my writing just be burned if it's incorrect, and
Right.
just like, you know, basically like I could be really wrong in these matters. Let more learned men decide, and like
Right.
was really repetitive with this concept
Yeah.
of like,
I
nah,
love
I'm
that.
garbage, and
I love that.
this could just throw it away if it's garbage. And the devil tried to destroy her works a bunch of times, like literally tried to destroy her works a bunch of times. I think she had to rewrite some of her works because it was destroyed. But and like, despite like the opposition from any kind of like male chauvinism, it still just rose to the top because it was ordained by God to do so. Which is like, it's hilarious that she was just so subservient. She kept her head down. She's like, yeah, let this, you know, let the right thing happen to it. Burn it if you have to. Or I think it was Saint Joseph of Cupertino, the priest who levitated and who was not the most learned priest, but was super, super holy. He exorcised somebody. He didn't want to do solemn exorcisms, but under obedience, he was told to exorcise somebody, and so he simply like looked up at God and was like, well, okay, God, if it's your will, exorcise this person. If it's not, don't exorcise them. And the demon like rushed out of this person because he was so afraid of his obedience
Right.
to his superiors and to God. And it was just like, how cool is that, to be so detached from the results of something because of obedience,
Yeah.
that people like people and demons for that matter get destroyed, their plans get thwarted in the mix. It's just like, it's such a middle finger to
I'm looking something up here.
it's such a middle finger to the enemy, that it's like, it makes me happy because we can be moderate, we can be temperate, we can exercise control over our passions, but still be fiery in that context. It's like, it's sidestepping mediocrity and coming into something of its own. And I think that's like, I think that's really awesome.
That's right up my alley. I love it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes by one of my favorite saints, I was just looking it up in my emails because I email myself some little notes sometimes. It's Saint Ignatius of Loyola, the Jesuit founder.
With the leg?
Huh?
With the bum leg?
From the war injury or whatever it was?
Yeah.
He said, what seems to me white, I will believe black if the hierarchical church so defines. So, note the language is very subtle and precise. It says what seems to me white, right? Not what is white. What seems to me white, I will believe black if the hierarchical church so defines. So that's that hardcore cowboy obedience that I think you're referring to, and it's powerful, and that's kind of where I'm at by default. But because of the disappointments that I've been wrestling with since COVID, especially, and because of the disappointments with the apparent sort of concessions that are being made to Darwin and neo-Darwinism and post-neo-Darwinism and all this nonsense, that disappointment has tempered a little bit my fire for the hierarchy. Like it has damaged me a little bit, but nothing has really changed philosophically for me. Nothing has changed, and I've always known the church is corrupt. I've always known that, but I'm seeing the corruption now, and it's disgusting. I mean, I'm not being irreverent by saying that corruption is disgusting, and the corruption in the church is the most disgusting. So I'm not saying something impious here, right? And no. I think it was St. Catherine of Siena, was it, that said, "I only fear bad Catholics." I love that quote.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I only fear bad Catholics. Go ahead.
No, it wasn't.
Saint Bernadette of Lourdes.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
I only fear bad Catholics. Yeah, that's true. I mean, because you get a whole bunch of them together, and what do you get? You get indifference. You get something that's watered down. You get the crisis of disbelief in the Eucharist and the sacraments, and the cliche thing is to say it's a catechetical nightmare, and it's like, yeah, it is an issue of teaching. It is an issue of not knowing the faith, but there's no incentive for people to approach those things. So like in nursing, we really like to write everything off as a teaching error as well. But like, if people don't want to learn, then you can teach really well, and it's not going to make any kind of difference. So it's motivational as well as that teaching error that everybody talks about. So,
Well, it's like I
but
said, the will is the primary barrier, not the intellect, right?
right, right. So, you know, people, I get angry at like, why is certain form why is a certain form of prayer not taught in our churches? Like, why are Catholic schools not teaching kids how to meditate? They're so quick to want to teach like certain Eastern forms of
Mm.
meditation, but then they don't want to teach Catholic forms of meditation, um, and like arm kids with certain tools to do that. It's like physical education, you know. Like, you can like throw a bunch of balls at each other, but like, why don't you teach kids how to work out and to exercise for their body type? If you gave them tools that like planted these seeds that they could then like draw from later on in life, even if they're not mature enough to appreciate them now, at least they have that background where they can say, "Oh, you know what? I think that system kind of worked. Let me explore that." Um, it's not going to do everything, but it is going to provide the backdrop there for further inspection if the person is willing to actually put forth some effort.
You know, interviewing Pastor Art and thinking about Saint Teresa of Avila, who you've been emphasizing today. Next, you're going to start gushing about Saint Teresa of Lisieux. There, you're going to start gushing about her, and her way is the only way, right? But I'm just
Oh, it's the
joking. I'm just
littlest way,
joking.
baby.
I'm
It's the
just
littlest
joking.
way.
I'm just joking. I know that
No,
annoys you.
I probably will, David, and I'm okay with that. Because they do provide this really solid groundwork for prayer. It's just this. It's just the smugness. It's just pride is the most disgusting and
Yeah.
looking color on all of us. And I realize I'm so easily offended by stuff, and I know that that's my pride. I'm so easily irritated by stuff, and I know that that's my pride. And so it's like, oh, I'm recognizing that. That feels good to see that. Like, I'm getting angry at this, therefore I feel wounded. Therefore, I'm probably just too prideful. And so like I can recognize this, and so you start seeing it in other areas where people like really march in their camp, and it's like, what's the background? Pride. I think I'm right, therefore I'm going to do whatever I can to protect this thing that I've aligned myself with, and
Promote it and to police it.
promote it. Yeah, promote it,
But
police it.
Saint Teresa of Avila, she has a famous scene in one of her writings where she's on her way to see the bishop or whoever it is, and it's an important meeting, and the rain's coming, and her horse-drawn carriage gets stuck in the mud, and she has to get out and try to fix it, and she falls in the mud, and she looks up from the mud to God and says, "Why do you treat me this way?" And he says, "I treat all my friends this way." And I was thinking about Pastor Art and suffering and being persecuted, and this is the life of a Christian. It is. It is. And I feel a little bit guilty. Like, I think I went a little bit overboard gushing and praising this guy because, I'm just like so impressed that he feeds the homeless. He went to prison, and his love for the prisoners and their love for him. It's just like, I feel like I'm watching Jesus Christ on earth. Like, I really do feel like
That's
that.
really cool.
I
That's
really
awesome.
am impressed. I'm really moved, and I feel like I'm witnessing Jesus Christ. So, in retrospect, I'm just thinking, am I betraying my Catholicism? Why am I praising a Protestant? And then I go back to my ecumenical view, where it's like, if he makes it to heaven, he's a Catholic. Period.
Right.
And if he ends up in hell, could it not be that he's an instrument of Christ nonetheless while he's on earth?
We know Carol Houselander spoke of ecumenism in the same way that you're speaking of it.
Who is
where
she?
Carol Houselander was this English mystic who died in the 1950s. And she saw the face of Jesus in certain people, but she also saw the life of Jesus being played out in certain people. And people that were spiritually dead, she just saw Jesus in the tomb. People that were suffering, she saw him being crucified.
Wow.
For people that were joyful, she saw the joys of Jesus in them. And she would walk around like London, and she would walk around in the subway and see all these people on the train, and she would just see the life of Jesus being played out in every human being.
Wow.
And it's like what you're describing, where you just see everybody as a potential. And which is, how we should all be looking. We should all be looking at each other as a child of God, and as a part of the body, because we have no ability to discern. We're not Padre Pio. We can't see who's, who's in and who's not in. And even if you could, you still are supposed to give them the same kind of love and um, um, positivity. Ew, no, I don't want to use that word. We're still supposed to be like
Namaste.
Jesus.
Namaste.
Namaste. No, but Jesus had Jesus had Judas at the Last Supper, and presumably Judas received him in communion. Yeah, in the Eucharist. So if he had somebody he knew was going to betray him sitting there chilling out, and the Bible seems to be pretty conclusive that Judas is in hell. I mean, it does call him the son of perdition. So
Yeah, the saints are pretty unanimous on that. The saints are pretty unanimous. I asked the rhetorical question during my talk on the consecration: was the mother of Jesus, the Blessed Virgin Mary, was she at the Last Supper in the upper room? Yes or no?
Oh, dude, I don't know. I wondered that too. I thought it was like a dudes only thing. Like I wonder that, and I also wonder what was Mary doing when Jesus was suffering in Gethsemane? Was she experiencing some kind of
Joy.
Was she no?
Yes. Yes.
No? Was
I'm
she
being serious. I'm not being
Yeah.
facetious. I'm being absolutely serious. That inversion I talked about.
Yeah.
Listen to my video. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you agree
Okay, I'll
with
check
me.
it out.
It's mystical.
I'll check it out. But again, you got to check out Houselander, because she talks about the inscape of things. So like she talks about how this world is like an inscape of heaven, and she also speaks about the infancy of Jesus as an inscape of his passion. And
I got to interrupt you here. I got to interrupt you because I made a bad joke to Pastor Art, and it really did not go. It did not fly.
What was it?
It did not fly. He said, God is the center of the universe. I said, I said, no. I said, Satan is the center of the universe. I said, because if geocentrism is true, and if hell is in the center of the earth, and Satan is in the center of hell, therefore Satan's the center of the universe. He was just flabbergasted and just like, no, God's the center of the universe. And he just moved on. But I was thinking about that in all seriousness. Like, I think there's a good chance that in this, this is a fallen world. There's a new creation. There's a new heaven and a new earth coming. Okay, so I don't have any problem if Satan is the center of this current fallen world. I don't have a problem with it if that's how God ordained it. And the reason is because that center is the smallest, like infinitesimally small. That center point is nothing, really.
Right.
And not only that, but it's temporary, because there'll be a new heaven, new earth. And the other thing is, like, if you want to map out, like, if you want to have geography, like, hey, I want to do a land grab, like, hey, I got the continent of North America. Wow, it's nice and big. Oh, hey, I got Russia. That's huge. Whatever. When you're doing this thing, like with greedy people that want to have land and resources and all that sort of thing. Oh, let's go into space and we can get so much territory, and I'm going to grab this and you grab that. Well, the further you go out from the center of the earth, if the earth is the center of the universe, the further you go out, the more volume you've got, the more surface you've got, the more air you've got, the more expanse you've got. And God's domain is everything, and infinitely. Satan's domain is it's infinite, and Satan's domain is infinitely small. So even if we do concede that for the time being in this fallen world, Satan is the center of this world, it's not giving him glory, far from it, right? So do you agree with what I've fantasized about?
I do, but the more that I hear, the more that I read about and hear and learn about the antics of Satan, the more violently enraged I become of how much of a pussy he is, and just how he like takes advantage. He's a scumbag, like intentionally inflicting wounds on the most innocent human beings, and then inflicting temptations to play off of those wounds that he inflicted at the youngest age. It's like see that baby over there? Let's wound that as much as we possibly can, and then let's stay on that the rest of its life and ride those wounds out, so that way we can drag it to hell with us. To me, that is just the mark of a coward, and it makes me so violently aggressive towards him and towards his his bullshit. There's just no other way to put it. It makes me just so, it makes me so, which is, I understand that rage is not good.
No,
but,
righteous anger, righteous anger.
Righteous anger. Well, and that's the thing. So like redirecting it towards him, is really what I need to be, what I really need to be, doing. And like, it's like, okay, fine. I'm going to intentionally make my goal to sin less, just to spite you, because I'm irritated. I'm really irritated that this is the life that I have to live. You know,
Yeah.
David, I want to get your opinion on this. I can't talk forever. I got to bounce soon, but I see dementia and I see certain forms of illness, and I see like how bad it is, and just how disturbing it is. I deal with a lot of patients that have dementia, and it really saddens me to my heart, but it also makes me angry because they're some of the hardest people to deal with. They're really difficult to deal with. They're violent, they're mistrusting, they shout, they don't stop. It's like they have a limitless amount of energy that allows them to do whatever it is that they're doing, and they can make themselves like the equivalent of like 5 or 6 patients, depending on like how much work and how much effort they want to put into
Stirring the
trying
pot.
to throw themselves out of bed or scream bloody murder. But basically, it's like they've been stripped of their faculties, and they just have no reasoning, and they're just this balding ape that just screams and shouts and throws themselves on the floor and cries. And I was thinking, Satan is at the helm of this. He created this disease because this strips humanity of their ability to reason, and it makes them completely animalistic, and it makes them horrible. And and then I was wondering, okay, so when man sinned for the first time, we introduced death into the atmosphere. But do you think that Satan is in charge of specific forms of disease and death, and like caught like made certain modes of dying and sickness through himself? Like, do you think that the specifics of that came about by Satan and his angels?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. 100%. Satan is a powerless dweeb, just a loser, but he's cheering for the most minor and insignificant inconvenience in your life. Satan is cheering that on with the full force of his hatred and anger towards God. Like just mild inconvenience.
I know.
So imagine war, imagine rape, imagine pedophilia, imagine these things, how excited and how much energy he has cheering that on, doing everything he can to exacerbate the situation. He can't really do much. But to answer your question, Satan's cheering, he's the ultimate cheerleader for every defect, every deviation from God, and every deviation from God's well-ordered universe, right? So if he can see a blade of grass that's just a little bit brown or just a little bit deformed or whatever, that gives him a false joy, and he's excited about that. Did he physically cause it? Well, if he could, he would. Is he able to do anything without the permission of God? No. I mean, ultimately, God has created a world. We fell. Satan fell. Our first parents fell. And then there's just a natural course of events where things are falling apart, and there's just sort of this chaos, and God's holding things together. But he's also allowing a certain amount of chaos, allowing things to fall apart. And if I say no to Christ and I say yes to Satan, I can go and rape and murder people, and I can do all kinds of things with my will. God allows me to do that. So there's agency in evil, right? I can take a nice ripe apple and I can introduce bacteria, worms, I can do all kinds of things maliciously, and I can actually be the author of these natural evils, and the course of events takes place naturally. The worm wants to eat it, the bacteria wants to eat it, whatever it is I introduce, it's going to do its thing naturally.
Right.
Because God made a well-ordered universe. Things are going to happen, right? But I can have an ill will in that. I can help that. I can contribute to that. And if Satan can, he will. But there are limits on what he can do. So my point of saying this is it's a balance between what God allows and what God ordained to be natural. And you take a nice spinning kid's toy, like a spinning top or whatever, and you can just give it a kick or a little nudge or a little whatever. You can throw it off balance, and then it'll just wobble and it'll crash on its own. So you don't need to do much, but Satan will do as much as he can to disturb every system and to make everything as messed up as possible. I don't think he has a lot of effect or influence. I think mostly it's just natural stuff propagating, and he'd like to take credit for every rotten worm-eaten apple. But he, I don't think God allows him to go and contaminate a lot of stuff. Just a little bit here and there, where he gets to he gets to play. He gets to play a little bit, but not much.
Because so then, what are your thoughts then on the speculative theology of we all have a guardian angel?
Yeah.
And some theologians speculate that your guardian angel's yes to God was a yes to their assignment to be with David. And that out there, through the fallen angels, there is an angel that said no to God by rejecting David. Do you believe that you have the figurative guardian angel and guardian devil?
No.
That exists, just the attempt to use.
I believe I have at least one, maybe two guardian angels. One for me, one for my marriage. It's not. I'm not 100% convinced of that, but I'd like to think that my marriage, because we're one flesh, we have an extra guardian angel for our marriage. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But so basically, I have one or two guardian angels, and I've got the whole pack of demons against me. Okay, so that's how I see it. And the reason I don't put a 1-to-1, like I got one good one, one bad one, is because only a third of the angels fell, not half. So I see it like that. I see it like they're all against me. They're all 100% putting 100% of their effort against me, and that's it. So, but like I said, the power of the demons is nothing, and it's just that idea that we humans with our free will can say, oh, well, Satan's powerful. Oh, I should. I heard that the Hollywood actors got rich and famous by signing a contract with the devil. I should try that. And then you do that, and then, you can get some pleasure, and you end up having a lot more sex, and, you do crime, and you get money, and you're like, hey, it worked. I sold my soul to Satan, and I got all this stuff. But no, it's just a trick. It's just a trick. Like, you're just being corrupt, and corruption and power go together, and, like, it's not... It's got nothing to do with Satan, other than just the theater, like, yeah, if you join the dark side, you get all this sexy stuff. No, it's just false advertising. It's just a bunch of nonsense. It's just like, you are a human being, you have free will, and if you go with the dark side, you can profit in the short term in these ways that are pathetic. Yeah, like, hey, it's like your kid, like, hey, I found the key to the my dad's liquor cabinet, and I drank all the liquor. Well, congratulations, right? Congratulations, you had 20 minutes of fun and 3 days of, like, hospitalization from alcohol poisoning. Like, congratulations, whatever. And you got no one to blame but yourself. If you want to blame the devil, he's going to appreciate that, because you're just propping up his whole facade. Like, yeah, I'm powerful, whatever. It's like, no.
Well, there's always this, dichotomy in spirituality that kind of splits. There's, like, always two camps. Like, there's a lot of exorcists that will say, that really limit the amount of activity of the devil, and then there's like the other side of the group that, like, attributes everything to the devil, and it seems like there's like a mid
golden
path
road.
Like, yeah, because, like, you'll see like overcorrection in, like, the exorcism ministry that basically, like, states this is rare, and like, but the language surrounding it really states that, like, this rarely ever happens, or demonic influence is really just relegated to ordinary.
I don't say the influence is rare. I don't say the influence is rare. The influence is very prolific.
The ordinary, no, the ordinary is no, but they're talking about, like, extraordinary, and I think that or
possession. You're talking about possession.
No, not even just possession, but, like, harassment or
oppression.
I think that they're like so medical, like, they're like people, like, they really like to split between medical and spiritual issues, or mental health and spiritual health. And so they'll say, like, yeah, that person had schizophrenia. They didn't have a spiritual attack going on. And all I can think of is, why can't they have both?
Yeah.
Why can't they have the spiritual mechanism? Why can't they also have the physical and the mental mechanism that are at work too? Like, why can't there be two things?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Why do we have to, like, split it and say, like, nah, Satan wasn't involved in that. He's definitely, that was all definitely medical. And it's like, that's, for me, in my mind, it's like, I feel like there's more of
Overlap.
there's more of an overlap than what we give credit, because people are always trying to like either calm down hysteria, or they're trying to like bolster something up to make people hysterical because it's fun. It's fun to get in a tizzy, but it's like, from where I'm sitting, I'm like, the people that are really dry about it, they kind of like miss something, and the people that are always like pumping it up are also.
I would like to clarify my position, so you understand that the propaganda, the PR, the advertising of Satan is his main weapon, and it's very, very effective. Why do companies pay so much money for advertising? Because it works. It influences people's choices. Okay, same thing with Satan, right? So it's like the tobacco company. They could say, well, look, we warned you, it's not good for you,
right?
But we also shoved it down your throat. So it's just like, at the end of the day, it's your choice you make. Now, if Granny seemed like a sweet old lady and she's got all kinds of dementia and schizophrenia and all kinds of things, and later in life, I would have no hesitation in saying sweet old Granny is subject to demonic effects, and sadly, because she's a sinner, she dabbled in Satanism to a certain extent, like we all do, right? And she's not a saint. I think it's pretty obvious if she were a saint. If she is a saint, like a lot of the saints were harassed by the demons too. So it's a different, like the two categories. You're a saint and the demons are playing with you in that way, or you're just sort of like a part-time Satanist dabbling in Satan, and you're selfish.
Right.
And so every ill that comes upon you is allowed for your greatest good, but it's also, there's punitive stuff that happens to you because you messed up. It's the temporal punishment for your sins. I have danced with the devil. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it in my health later in life. I'm going to pay for it with mental dementia, all kinds of stuff, schizophrenia, whatever it is. Like,
certainly hope that you don't deal with any of those things.
But I hope not. But my point here is, I don't want to downplay the effect of the demonic. The demonic is very, very active in all these things, the bad things we're seeing in the hospitals and stuff like that, mental illness and all that sort of thing. But it's that yes that we freely give to Satan and his lies, right? Because all he's doing is he's just tricking us into giving our consent, like instead of doing the will of God, we just do our own will, which is what Satan wants us to do. So I just want you to know that I think it's very, very pervasive, and I see the demonic in mental illness.
That's why I brought it up to you, because you were never afraid to say, "Oh yeah, that's demonic, that's a demon." In your conversations, you're like, you very much understood where your temptations lied, and you always spoke about it in spiritual terms. And even just to use the word demon is really difficult because Satan is very good, and he prunes society he's very good at what he does. He prunes society into basically looking at you like you're crazy if you even just like attribute something to a demon, and to use that word. And so like to even be like looking around before you're like, yeah, demons, people, like of course he wants that, because then like if you can't even really have the conversation, then how in the world are you going to ever deal with it appropriately? And so
that's funny. It didn't occur to me to worry about what people might think, but
I told you I was a coward, David. I think about it all the time. I like that's.
No, but I mean, you also have to realize, like, I'm not like the most extroverted person, like with circles of friends and my, at work, and I'm not like the center of attention at work or anywhere else. Right. So it's like basically, I talk a lot on my podcast, but in my normal life, I'm not like out there talking to people, right? Like, so I guess have to filter myself too much, because I'm not like moving in these circles and going out dining with professional people or anything like that. It's basically like I live my dweeby little meaningless life, and it's just like I live
in the David bubble.
In the David bubble. And did you see that I'm on a billboard here in Montreal? I found myself pictured on a billboard. Did you not see that? It's an episode. It's an episode I posted recently.
I want to see.
Yeah, you can go watch it. It's just silly, but it's like, what are the odds? Like, I'm like Mr. Nobody, hiding out all the time, and like I ended up.
Why are you on a billboard? Is it just like
I just happened to be in this pharmacy? Like, I never go to the pharmacy, but I happened to be in a pharmacy where they did a photo to portray a business in Montreal North, which is a certain boulevard that's under construction. And they had a sign up saying basically business is going on regardless of the construction. Don't worry, the businesses are open. And they showed a music store and a pharmacy. And in the picture of the pharmacy, there's the woman there, the pharmacist. And in behind her, there I am at the cashier, like buying a pack of gum or whatever.
That's awesome. That's great. That's so stupid. I love it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's just because I'm the least likely guy to be recruited for a poster, much less for a huge billboard on the side of the road there. But
they were trying to hit the LGBTQ crowd there.
You got to watch the episode because it's so funny. Because I'm like, who's that dude with the man bun? I'm like, what the hell? That's me.
That's great. That's awesome.
Oh my god! So very nice talking to you, Aidan. I'll let you go there because I got Michael. I got I called him Michael. Matthew Murdoch coming on. I hope.
Is he actually coming?
Say a prayer. Say a prayer that'll come on that show, and he'll share his ongoing journey with us because we love him. And I told him,
absolutely, man.
Text the Aidan brothers. They love you, and they're waiting for you to text them and to say hi and whatever. He's like, yeah, I've just been busy. Huh?
We got the Aidan brothers.
What did I call you? Oh, I'm schizophrenic. I got those demons,
no, you know
right?
what? I like, yeah, you do. I like the Aidan brothers. You can keep calling us that. You got to get my dad on, by the way. We got to badger my daddy to come talk to you.
Do it.
Because he's cool, man.
Tell him he can bring his guitar. One of the guys I talked to recently at a party. Here I am out at the party. I was at a party. Yeah. Woo, woo. But, so anyway, I was at a party and I talked to this guy and I invited, he's a real character and musician. I offered to interview him on my podcast. He said, yeah, but I only do it if I can bring my guitar. I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And he said, and I'm going to wear a gorilla mask. I'm like, okay, whatever, you know.
And is he going to do it?
He's threatening that he's going to wear this gorilla mask, but you never know with this guy if he's serious or not. You don't know because he's just a real character. I don't know if you know these musician types that are just like kind of like always excited and animated and like just talking like crazy stories. And he's met all kinds of famous musicians and he used to be a photographer and just like high energy. It's going to be fun if I do get him on.
That's cool.
It's kind of like wrangling cats or trying to herd cats. Like, can I actually nail this guy down where he's going to sit still in front of a camera for an hour? I mean,
it's the funny thing is, David, our family's really musically talented. I mean, like exceptionally so. And they don't have that kind of flamboyant energy.
They're not taking the right kind of drugs. That's why.
I know, but they are very cold, very disciplined, but also very creative in their art. Like Mark, Mark is an excellent pianist, excellent singer. My dad is like the most well-rounded guitarist that I know, and been playing since he was a kid. And Kieran is disgusting.
Did you hear Kieran's Gregorian chant on his interview?
I did. Wow. It was awesome. It was really cool.
Amazing. Yeah. He sent me a whole bunch of it.
He should be doing that. Did he?
Yeah, but he told me he's just doing background humming.
I would hope so, because he's not that good.
Playing the spoons.
Yeah, the washboard, man. That's...
Jug band, the Kieran Lisney jug band, Orthodox jug band blues.
That would be so cool. I would play the washboard. Kieran could play the jug.
Yeah, well, you could play your 8-pack, right?
I don't have an 8-pack, dude. I'm fat right now. I'm disgusting. I got a lot. You can't see it, but you can trust.
You can pinch more than an inch.
Oh my goodness. It's really bad. I just got blood test done yesterday, and I'm expecting to be told I'm pre-diabetic. So I'm like, yeah.
Stop eating all those salads, man.
I got to stop eating garbage. No, man, the salad is just the top layer. Everything else below it is just any like
top layer.
Put peanut butter on something, and it's going to my fat face. So, man, and so much coffee. I just drill down coffee and sweets as much as I possibly can. So have a good final week of Lent. As I said to Kieran. Yeah, you too, man.
He said 1 more week. I said, yeah, 1 more week of guilt-ridden slacking.
It's true, man. It's true. So yeah, you'll be my first.
What I haven't said to myself yet, it's coming soon. What I haven't said to myself yet is, yeah, but next Lent, I'm gonna be really disciplined. Next Lent, you watch me next Lent. You watch me. You just watch me next Lent.
I know good enough to know. I know good enough to know that that's not going to happen for me. I don't make those promises anymore. I fasted. I started my Lent a week early, not realizing, and I accidentally did the. Dude, I did a fast that Wednesday, and then I was so pissed because I'm like, can I roll this fast over into next week? Like, and I was this close to just like asking somebody about it, but I just did it, and I was like, but trust me, dude, so irritated.
I'm making it on the record. I'm making a commitment next Friday and Saturday, water only.
No.
Yep.
No,
water only.
Don't do that. Don't do that, you overachiever, you loser. Come
water
on now.
only. Well, it's to make up for my slacking.
Yeah.
You can relate to that.
Yes, I can, but I can also relate to failure in that new attempt. So I'll be praying that you do well, but on the surface, I'm going to tell you to fail. So
okay.
Water sounds so awful. Don't do that, because then you're going to make me feel like I have to be better and I have to do something.
It's easier. I've done it before. It's easier than taking a 5-minute cold shower. I'd rather fast on nothing but water for 2 days than take a 5-minute cold shower. Honestly, if I had the choice.
Really?
If I had the choice, yeah, it's easier. I hate being cold and I hate being wet.
Okay.
I hate it. When I'm fasting, I can cuddle up, I get my blanket, I can do whatever I want. I can keep warm and dry, right? That's the main thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So then how about next Thursday and Friday I'll take cold showers.
Yeah.
Just for you, David.
That's good. Is Thursday and Friday better than Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, because I work on Saturday.
Oh,
like fasting on a day that I work is a joke.
No.
There's no, it's a 12-hour day.
No.
No. Yeah.
Even the church says don't do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They say if you're working, if you need physical energy, you moderate your fasting, right?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So
moderation and everything. That's why, because I've got 4-day weekend next weekend, so I can do. I'm gonna try to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done it for years. But the other thing I've been telling myself is, for Lent this year, I've given up the most important thing, which is Lent.
Nice.
Or what Saint Teresa, one of the Saint Teresas said, just pick up a pin for Jesus. That means more than any big fasting and sacrifice. Just pick up a pin. So I'll drop a pin, I'll pick it up. I'm just being silly here. I'm being silly.
Right, absolutely.
But the little way, the little way does appeal to me during Lent more than ever. The little way.
Yeah, it does, except the stuff that she did was not little, okay? Let me tell you. She was like, I just try to say no to something every time I sit down at a table. So, like, it might mean cream in my coffee. That might mean butter on my toast. And I'm just like, no. Why would you drink the coffee or eat the toast if none of those things were in there? And, like, to me, I'm just see this like cacophony of deprivation, and it's like, it's not really, dude. All you have to do is just say no to yourself a couple times a day.
Yeah.
Even if that means prolonging something, like that's really doable. Just
so this second piece of cake, I'm gonna just sit on this. I don't want to brag here, but I'm gonna wait for 3 minutes before I'm gonna eat the second piece of cake.
That's right.
There you go, Jesus. There you go, Jesus. Are you a little bit more comfortable there on the cross now? Yeah. Okay. I thought you might be.
Terrible.
I'm sorry.
Ridiculous.
God forgive me. But we'll have to wrap it up here. It's been almost 2 hours. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you.
Bro,
I love
take
you
care.
very much. And please,
love you too,
please
man.
pray for my first cousin who just discovered she has a brain tumor. It's irreparable and she's going to die from it probably soon. But miracles are possible. My mother phoned me. She's upset because she's like a sister to her, my first cousin.
Definitely.
And they're like twins and kind of like you and your uncle, like that kind of thing. So please pray for her. Her name's Armida. Please pray for her.
Armida. Okay.
And lovely, lovely woman. And so I appreciate it. You and yours are in my prayers too. Okay.
Absolutely. You're all in my prayers.
I say,
your
God,
wife, your family,
remember the Aidan brothers. The Aidan brothers.
Remember the Aidan brothers.
And if you need the last name, it's
you don't.
Lindsay.
It's Lindsay.
Lindsay, God, get that. Write it down. I'm being silly.
It is nice talking to you.
I'm being silly as usual, but we'll talk very soon and try to tune in to Matthew if I get him on the air here.
Yeah. Shoot me an email though if he does,
and shoot him a text.
I'll harass him.
Harass him, yes. Love you,
man. I love you too.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.